We all know Kobe Bryant was a winner, right? But how did he build that legendary mindset that fueled all his success? I'll tell you, it wasn't just talent. It was a repeatable system. And in this explainer, we're going to break down the 4 pillars of the Kobe Bryant method.
And it all starts right here. This wasn't just some recruiting pitch he was throwing out there. This was the standard. It was a totally unfiltered declaration of his entire philosophy. There was just no room for second best in his world, and if you wanted to be a part of it, well, you had to accept that from day one.
You know, a statement like that is pretty easy to make, but it's incredibly difficult to actually live by. So what was the process behind it? Let me tell you, it wasn't talent, and it wasn't luck. It was a deliberate system built on an obsessive drive to learn, a rational way to process failure, a willingness to sacrifice, and just impenetrable mental armor. And that whole system begins with this foundational pillar, the obsessive learner. For Kobe, improvement wasn't just something you did at practice, it was for everywhere, all the time.
As a young player, he would watch the greats, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and see them do these things that looked impossible. But instead of just being in awe, he asked a question, a really simple but powerful question. Can I get to that level? He even admitted he didn't know the answer, but his entire career basically became the process of finding out.
This idea is so key to his whole approach. He famously said, literally, the world becomes your library to help you become better at your craft. I mean, think about that. Once his goal was clear, everything he saw, everyone he met, it all became a potential source of information. The world wasn't just the world anymore, it was his personal resource. And he was so proactive about it. He didn't just sit around waiting for wisdom to find him. He went straight to the source, to what he called Goat Mountain. He sought out the absolute masters of the game, and he asked them directly, what did you do? How did you think? He wanted to understand their obsessiveness, their crazy level of detail, and just absorb it all for himself. So when you're constantly learning and pushing your limits like that, you're gonna fail. A lot. And this brings us to the second pillar. His almost robotic ability to separate his emotion from the process and turn those setbacks into fuel for growth. This is just classic Kobe, right? Incredibly blunt, but there's a really powerful logic here. See, his first step in dealing with a public failure wasn't to analyze the mistake itself. Nope, it was to kill his own ego. He recognized that feeling embarrassed is about you, it's not about the problem. So step 1 was always to just get over himself. This mindset built a repeatable process for dealing with failure, a 4-step method. First, detach from the emotion. Then you ask why with a clear head. What were the actual technical reasons for the failure? From there, you dig for the root cause. And finally, you build a new system so it doesn't happen again. He famously did this after shooting 5 air balls in a crucial playoff game when he was just a rookie. And this just perfectly illustrates the outcome of that analysis. He observed his shots were all on line, just short. The emotion was humiliation, embarrassment. But the data told him the root cause wasn't a lack of skill, it was a lack of physical endurance. His legs just weren't strong enough for a grueling 82-game season. So the solution was simple. Build a new weight training program. He turned one of the most humiliating moments of his career into a concrete action plan. Done. Now this level of obsessive learning and rational analysis, it comes at a cost. Which leads us directly to the third pillar, a conscious and, more importantly, a willing acceptance of the sacrifices required to be the absolute best. See, Kobe looked around the league, and he saw other players who had passion, for sure, but they weren't willing to commit their entire lives to the craft. They had other priorities, and he saw that as his advantage. He realized that for him, basketball couldn't just be a priority, it had to be the only one. The crucial point here is that this was a conscious choice. He knew the trade-offs. While other guys were on vacation or just hanging out, he was training or studying film. He was very open about the fact that relationships with friends and family suffered. Things were lost, but it wasn't an accident. It was a calculated sacrifice. And why make that choice? Well, this was his ultimate motivation. It was all about avoiding regret. He was terrified of the idea of getting to the end of his career and having that nagging feeling of, what if? Every single sacrifice was like a deposit in the bank of zero regrets. So you're learning, you're analyzing, you're sacrificing, but how do you actually show up and perform under that crushing pressure night after night? Well, that's the 4th pillar, building the mental armor you need to execute. He used this amazing analogy from the movie Gladiator. Just like the character Maximus would pick up dirt before a fight to center himself, Kobe had his own mental switches. These were triggers that told his mind and his body that it was time to change modes, that it was go time.
He called this state of absolute focus the cage. When he was in the cage, he wasn't just Kobe Bryant, the person. No, he was the character that was required to win. All the outside noise, all the distractions, all personal feelings just disappeared. He would tell people, when I'm in that cage, bro, don't touch me, don't talk to me, leave me alone.
And this is that mindset in action. He tells a story about playing Vince Carter back in 2000 when his back was, in his own words, jacked. The pain was real, but the fear of people thinking he was ducking a challenge was way greater. He flipped the mental switch. He decided his back wasn't going to bother him that day. Vince was going to have to see him. That's mental armor.
But what makes this mindset so powerful is that it wasn't just for basketball. It became his operating system for everything, creating a legacy that extends far, far beyond the court.
I mean, think about his devastating Achilles injury. It could have ended his career. But in that moment, he saw it through the exact same lens. It was just another obstacle. He told himself it would not define him, and he would not let it be the reason he left the game. He would recover, and he would retire on his own terms. It was the ultimate test of his entire mindset.
He even applied this framework to his post-career life as an investor and creator. Look at his criteria for an investment. It's the same exact process. Do you understand it? Can you improve it? And most importantly, are the leaders obsessives like him? He was looking for his own mindset in other people.
So in the end, it's more than a mindset. It's a blueprint, a framework for attacking any goal built on these 4 pillars: obsessive learning, rational analysis, necessary sacrifice, and mental armor.
And that brings the question back to us. This was his method for achieving greatness. But looking at this framework, just forget about being Kobe Bryant for a second. The real question is, what is the one goal in your life that you are willing to get truly obsessive about?